Hi, Clumsy Guy here, and I'm going to start a new series, or at least a few videos, I think, on starting seeds, because over the years I've learned a lot of little tricks to have success. So today I'm going to be starting a set of seeds for a ground cover. And one of the advantages of buying seed is that you can get a lot more variety in the plants that you have than by just going to the big box store or even the local nursery. There's just a lot more choice. But with that comes the challenge of starting seed and then maintaining them and keeping them so that they can grow into mature plants. This particular seed is a really nice ground cover. The seeds in this little package are 200. So I know just by that the seeds are going to be practically microscopic. And I want to be able to put them in a starter tray here and be able to have them scattered as much as possible. Okay, so I've figured out a way of doing that. So for this little exercise, you're going to want to have, what I use is, these are big plastic covered bins where, you get some things like pastries or whatever in, and I save those. This is the same, this one here is just the same thing. I just cut it in half and I drilled holes in the bottom for drainage. And then of course with the cover, you're able to have like sort of a little greenhouse. So it's kind of a free greenhouse basically like that, okay? So a lot of seeds work better, instead of trying to put them in those little starter pots, which by the way cost money, is if you make up a soil mix on your own. For this particular seeding, I made up a combination of really good potting soil or starting soil, a little bit of coconut I mixed in with that, shredded coconut, and there's vermiculite, and on the top is a very fine vermiculite that's like a sand, so just to give the soil some texture and some good drainage is a good idea. So since the seeds I'm using for this are really tiny, what I've done is I saved an old Parmesan cheese, grated cheese bottle, and cleaned it and dried it and saved it for the cover. And now I'm going to fill that up with a little bit of this really fine vermiculite, like fine sand. You can use peat moss as well, but something that's really kind of powdery and that will give you a place to mix in the seeds. And now I'm going to, I know there's 200 seeds in this package and they're tiny. So what I'm going to do is I'll try to put in about half of them to this mixture here, and save the other half. I'll do a second tray because, like I said, there's a lot here, and I'll have to thin out the plants when they start to emerge anyways. Maybe that's half. It's kind of hard to tell. You can think of another way of doing this and keeping track, let me know. Okay, so now the seeds are in this medium here, okay. You might be able to see a few of them hiding in there. And I have a look to see if I want to, yes, I want to add a little bit more of this sand mixture here. And just give it plenty of other material to mix around in. And then give it a good shake. Really get everything kind of built in there as best as possible. And then just simple take and spread the seed through the growing medium that you prepared, okay? And I can actually see the seeds are kind of getting spread around. I mean, is it going to be perfect? No, they're going to be in some places. And then, lucky for me, these particular seeds are sort of an orangey brown and a little bit brighter than some of than the sand that I'm mixing it with, but get everything out here, looking at the bottle, and I got all the seeds out, so that's done. Another tool that I sometimes use when I do this is a bright little LED flashlight, and now I can really look at the soil, and for example, I can pick out some of the little bits from the peat moss, because there's some peat moss in here. I've got some solid pieces of wood and twig and stuff, and just sort of clean that out. And I'm going in, I have a little bonsai shovel when I bought some bonsai growing medium for my bonsai. And, I'm looking through here and they're looking like they're pretty much already fairly evenly distributed. Yeah, they're looking good. So I'm ready for the next step, which is, Clumsy Guy, just going to take and give everything a good spray, just regular water in a sprayer, okay? And I was just doing that a little too hard because I was actually pushing seeds around. And now I really want the seeds to kind of stay in place where I started from the first place. Also, preparing this tray, I drilled about 30 or 40 holes in the bottom of it last night, filled it up with dirt, potting soil, etc., and put it out in the rain. But you can just use a watering can or whatever to get it really saturated and drained on the ground. So it's sort of semi-dry this morning when I brought it back into the house. Okay, so now that's pretty good. And if I look again, I can still see that the seeds are exposed. So I'm going to go ahead in a minute and give it some more water, and then we'll go on to the last step. Okay, so now I've cleaned out some of the little bits of bark or wood that's in the peat moss to begin with, or the soil mix to begin with, and made it a little bit more fine. And I've sprayed it really thoroughly and gently. So now I'm going back. I'm using the same little shaker can that I had before, and I'm just kind of covering everything over again with just a fine bit of vermiculite. You can use peat moss again, just to kind of give it a little bit of depth. Sometimes seeds, you're supposed to start them with not being in the dirt because they need light to germinate, but this particular one, they need to be down in the ground a little bit and in the dirt a little bit. So one more time, just going to give that a little soak of water. And pretty much done. Now, again, because this was a repurposed, recycled, reused plastic thing that was holding croissant, I think, I just close that up. I usually don't snap it tightly shut so that it's easy to open when I want to open it. This particular seed does not want anything over 60 degrees, so I'm just going to go ahead and let it germinate in the house. I'm not going to use a seed mat or like a warming place to keep the seeds any warmer than they would normally be. And we'll come back in a little time, a day or two or three, and see what our success is going to be with this germination.